Hello, welcome to the Immortal Index, another episode on the books. You may have checked out the last episode where I read chapters 1 through 5 of This MC is Kickass. Thanks for the recommendation from Jimmy, who is the translator for End of the Hunters. Super excited to be here today. We're going to be talking to translator of This MC is Kickass, Sigil, in just here a second. As always, thank you so much for watching the shows. Thank you so much for supporting it. Please hit that subscribe button, share, like, comment, all that jazz. The more comments you leave on the video, the higher they are on searchability. And I think I try to reply to every single comment that there is. So the more you do it, the more that I can talk to you. It's really fun. Also, if you've been communicating on Twitter, that's a good way to get in touch with me at Immortal Index or at Stephen Lemieux. I'm going to be doing a video with Deathblade soon, which is going to be cool, so you can look forward to that. And, you know, I still haven't decided where to move to next for after This MC is Kickass. So if you have any suggestions, you're more than welcome to send them to the channel, comment on the video, any of that jazz. So I'm excited to talk to Sigil today because I haven't really talked to translators too much about the process behind it while working on a team, because most of them I've talked to so far are mostly, like, aside from an editor, are just kind of doing it themselves. So this novel has multiple translators on it, which is awesome because I'd love to hear a little bit more about the workflow and everything behind that. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce him. We have translator for This MC is Kickass on ValaireNovels.com, which you can find right now in the link in the description, or you can go to ValaireNovels.com/this-MC-is-Kickass if you are listening. We have Sigil on the line. Hey, Sigil, how's it going?
I'm good. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, of course. Thank you for hitting me up on Discord. It's good to you know, I never really was part of Discord before, so, like, being involved in it now, it's kind of cool to, like, communicate with a lot more of these translators throughout the different, like, networks. Like, I'm on the Wuxia World one, I'm on the Valaire Novels one, so it's kind of cool. I got to dive into the novel updates and all that kind of stuff, but I have yet to. But because I have you, I wanna first ask, because I haven't been able to find out too much about you. You don't have a Twitter, you don't have a Patreon. You're a bit of a mystery to me. So tell me, is This MC is Kickass, is this the first novel you've been translating, or have you translated others in the past?
I've done others in the past. Actually, before I came on Valaire, I did my own translating on my own personal site, which is not around anymore. I started on WordPress, and then I moved to a self-hosted site. So the novel I did at first was a Chi novel. It was called My Girlfriend is a Zombie. I picked it up from a previous translation group, which stopped translating it already. And I did it for a while. After that, there was the whole Qidian thing. You know, I started translating just as the Qidian's saga hit, where, you know, they were going around sending emails to people asking them to join the Qidian side of things for people who are translating Qi novels. So I went around asking Wuxia World, all the big sites like Wuxia World and Valaire, whether they would want to take me in, because I know that they were trying to aim for licensing, and that was my hope to join them instead of going over to Qi. And in the end, none of them wanted a Qi novel because they're trying to stray away from them. But Valaire, Evo was nice enough to offer me a novel lead position on Valaire, and then I accepted her offer and I went over. And then we have some pre-authorized novels already in the list, and TMK kind of stood out to me because it was a virtual reality novel. You know, there are some out there like King's Avatar and Reign of the Hunters, and Now Show Me the Money, but there aren't really that much out there, and I'm actually quite interested in the lit RPG genre, so I figured it would be fun to do something, the Chinese version of it.
That's pretty cool. So have you read some of those novels before you got into it, or was it kind of like you researched them once you discovered that this was an option? Like, have you read Rainbow Sculptor or Overgeared or King's Avatar? You've already read those?
No, I actually, honestly, before that I didn't know that the Chinese side of things had lit RPGs, but I have been following quite a few lit RPG novels on the Western side of things, especially on Royal Road, because, you know, it's the people that are so crazy about lit RPGs. And then some of the authors have even said that, you know, if you want your novel to do well, just add a blue screen and you get tons of views.
It's pretty good. So when you dove in, what was some of the difficulties? Because you had already translated in the past on your own website, but was it difficult at all to integrate yourself into a pre-established website? And now with a team, I'm assuming you work with Teapot, you work with Ku, right? And Maiden, Rozie, and you got to tell me about Maiden, Rozie here in a second. But were there any difficulties integrating yourself?
Well, going to a new community, there's always a bit of it always takes a bit of time to familiarize yourself with the people because you're always an outsider when you first go into a community. So it took a while for me to mingle and really get comfortable with them. And also before that, on my own side, I used to translate everything by myself. Now I have some people helping me out here and there. So that it was also a bit of a learning process, figuring out how to go about working with the team, coming out with workflow, so processes and all that. But now, yeah, it's okay. Everything's quite okay now.
So what is the workflow like? How do you translate as a team? Because I've always been curious about that. Whenever I saw it have multiple translators and not just like, oh, these ones picked up from chapter 100 to 150, but then you picked it up. Like, how does it work workflow wise?
Well, I can't say for everyone because everyone has their own style, and I don't think there's across any translation community there's really any standardized process on how you go about working in a team. So each person has their own style. But for me personally, I first of all, I have to go looking for people that are willing to help me, and then after that, what I do is I just assign them chapters. So like okay, for example, I'm working on chapter 100 now. So I think this person will take about a week or 2 weeks to work on this chapter. So I time it roughly like okay, where will I be in a week or two's time? Maybe I'll be at chapter 110. So then I'll assign them chapter 111 or 110 so that by the time I reach there, I'll be able to handle that. I'll be able to take on their chapter and I get to work in a chronological order. So even though that person may not have context because they're just suddenly thrown into the mix, thrown into a chapter, I'll know what's going on. So I'll be able to fix any inconsistencies that they might have. And also to alleviate the problem a bit, I maintain a glossary, like especially for character names. I think you've seen some of it already. Some of the game names in TMK are kind of out there. And if you were to look at the Chinese, it can be translated in a few ways. So I have a glossary that with all the names, with all of the characters' names there already. So anyone who helps me out has access to the glossary and they can just refer to it and pluck out the names.
Got it. That makes a lot of sense. And then is this kind of like a training program for Valere? Like do you choose or find out your own assistants or helpful translators, or is it more like sorry, so the question would be more do you seek out your own kind of assistance and help with translating, or are there a list of people that are kind of being brought up in the translation game by Valere that are going to move on to their own novels once they're ready?
Actually, this ties into our recruitment process because we have applications forms where people can apply to be either an editor or a translator, and then from there we'll go through it. We'll go through all the applications, and if they pass, then they'll be pushed out to any translators who needs an assistant. So from there, the translator will look at the test, at the applicant's test, and they'll decide, oh, I like this guy's style, I want them, or if not, they'll just be passed on to the next person. So it's more like anyone who passes the test will be put into a pool, and they'll be sitting there until someone needs them.
Got it. And then you basically manage the team then?
So each in Valere we have the head translator is called novel lead, and that person manages all aspects of the novel, things like release rate, whether they need a helper, whether they need an editor, quality control, everything.
Wow.
Yeah.
And are you that for MC's Kickass?
Yeah, I'm that for TMK.
Got it. And so how does it usually work when people have like a Patreon then? Does the Patreon get split between everyone who's on the novel, or is that kind of like a separate issue? Because I know you don't have a Patreon.
Yeah, that's hard to say because it's everything's on a very individual basis. I think most people do. I'm not sure. I really can't say for sure because I myself don't have one. But like take editors for example. Most of the time, depending on how the translator wants to work, they could give the editor a fixed pay per chapter. I don't know, maybe $5 or $10 per chapter. I'm not so sure how much other people pay their editors, or they could pay percentage base for the work. So yeah, it all depends on the translator. It's up to the translator to work out how they want to go about paying their helpers and their editors. And obviously the helpers and the editors have to agree to it. So everyone comes to a consensus, and then they move on from there.
Got it. And then why is it that you don't have a Patreon? Is it just you don't feel like you want to build it yet, or is it just like, because I know I talked to, I believe it was Jimmy who said that he just doesn't like having people pay for chapters, but everyone has a different reason.
In my case right now, it's just because I don't want the extra level of commitment for the time being. Because I'm also helping out some of the site's admin. So I have to split my time between translating and doing some of the administrative stuff. But I do help to look through some of the applications as well, the recruitment applications. So once people start giving you money, you're obligated to you have to ensure that you provide what you said you do. So if I would come up with Patreon and I wasn't able to keep out the advanced chapters or whatever, I would feel like I'd be letting down whoever is supporting me. So I choose not to do it. I mean, I do have sponsored chapters. And I fulfill whatever chapter sponsored goals are met. But that aside, not much else. Maybe if I move on to a new novel, I'll set it up. But not right now. And also, we are planning to launch a new site soon on Volet, and that will have some in-house Patreon functionality. Like, we'll move all the Patreon stuff in-house instead, which will make publishing all the advanced chapters and stuff a lot easier as well. Because you probably don't know, but if you're a translator and you do Patreon, you know that it's really, really an administrative hell getting all the chapters up. Not only do you have to post on the main site, you also have to post on Patreon.
Yeah, and that's also why Wuxia World started doing their VIP system 3 months ago. So it's been 4 or 5 months by now. Wow. So is it going to be, have you experienced Wuxia World's version of that right now? And is that kind of what Valaire's going off of? Or do you have your own special version that you guys are creating? Because this is the first I've heard of you guys going to an in-house new website pay system.
Yeah, we are probably we haven't really ironed out the details yet, but we'll probably be going in Wuxia World's direction, doing something similar to them. So it'll still be free reading. Everything is free. But for those people that want to support the site, maybe they'll be able to pay a monthly subscription, and then they won't be able to see any ad. They won't have to view any ads while they are reading the chapters and stuff. So everything will still remain free. Of course, these are all just tentative details. We haven't finalized anything, but that's the plan for the time being.
Cool. Yeah. I mean, I'm all for adless reading because that's one of the most, like, even doing the readings of This MC is Kickass, I'm like, okay, got to close this ad. Okay, got to close this ad. All right, scroll down, get this ad out of here. Is it open knowledge that you guys are doing a new site soon? I haven't seen anything about that on social media yet.
We're not actively promoting it because the site's still in the works. But we have mentioned it here and there on places like Novel Updates, on the off post. Yeah.
So it
hasn't really publicized.
Is there anything like really cool that you're excited about with the new site that for sure is coming?
It's more of all the back end stuff that I'm excited about because things like automatic table of contents updating and stuff. It's more of quality of life changes that I'm looking forward to, because posting a chapter actually takes quite a while. You have to set up the page links and all that for each individual chapter. So that actually takes up quite a lot of time. Actually, the one of the things I hate the most about translating is posting a chapter.
Do you have to do it yourself, or do you leave it to anyone else to do it?
Yeah, you have to do it yourself.
Can't you just get on Fiverr and find somebody who'll do it for $5 a week? Or
I guess you could, but it's in the end this is all back-end access as well, so it's better to keep it within the staff.
Yeah, I mean, I know that there was a famous story of somebody in America who outsourced all their work overseas without letting their boss know, and worked.
Yeah, I heard about it.
And I'm like, is that how you're doing it here, Sigil? So, let me throw something out, because you told me a little bit before the show about this story, because we have we have this picture on the main page of this MC is Kickass where it shows translators, and it says Maiden Rozie with little hearts and has a little emoji, which at first I was like, oh, is this the waifu of one of you guys? But now I'm wondering, tell me a little bit about Maiden Rozie and how this came to be with the little anime chibi.
Maiden Rozie is actually Rosenbach. He's a guy, but because the name Rosenbach sounds so girlish, we ended up treating him like a girl. And his nickname is Rozie, because Rosenbach, the short form, it naturally shortens to Rozie. And the thing is he has such he's a really interesting guy. He's a really fun guy, and he has the most amusing of reactions whenever you treat him like a girl. So it just kind of stuck. It just kind of stuck. And to add to the inside joke, I went and edited my table of contents and found a nice picture. And stuck it there. Stuck it right under his name.
What does he think of that? Is he cool with it?
I think he knew about it, and then I think he vomited blood. Yeah, metaphorically vomited some blood, and then he moved on.
So, amidst translating, are there any current novels that you're staying up to date on, like chapter by chapter?
Not so much. Actually, nowadays I'm moving. I don't read as much Chinese novels as I used to before I translated. Nowadays, I read more Western stuff. Because last time when I first started, I read the stuff from Wuxia world, all the cultivation novels like Coiling Dragon, I Shall See You the Heavens. And then I read some stuff on Volair as well. CEO, my wife is a beautiful CEO. And yeah, after that I started picking up translating, and my time went into translating instead. And then I was kind of like, oh yeah, I've had enough of Chinese, so I'll read some English stuff. And also it's because it's web novels. A lot of the stuff we translate are all web novels. Mm-hmm. So the level of writing isn't really standardized. And if you really want to go about expanding your English, finding out the best ways to go about phrasing stuff, it'd be best to read stuff that is natively written in English, because people tend to be more creative with writing when it comes to writing in your own native language. And so I prefer to read English novels so that I can pick out any interesting words, any interesting turns of phrases that people use, and then I can try to incorporate that into my own writing to upgrade it.
So, how you are very fluent in English? Is it very because you're in Malaysia, correct?
No, Singapore.
Singapore. So is it very common for people who grow up in Singapore to have English as their second language and be as fluent as you are?
Actually, English is more or less the main language.
Really?
English is more or less the main language. Proficiencies vary, of course, but English is the main language. So practically everyone knows how to speak English, especially if it's people of the younger generation, those people that are under 40s or younger. English is the main language.
So is translation just kind of like second nature to you then, because you read and write English and you read and write in Mandarin? So was it easy getting into translation originally, or is there kind of a learning curve with kind of
the learning curve was actually pretty high.
Really?
Because my Chinese is shit. My Chinese is still shit.
It's your own fault then.
In Singapore, we in our secondary schools we take our O-level examinations. I'm not sure if you've heard of it. It's some standardized international test. So I nearly failed my Chinese.
Well, I mean, at least you're really proficient in English then.
Yeah, good thing my English isn't shit. Otherwise, I'd really be shit out of luck.
So, question though, is translating like your full-time gig right now? Or are you like, are you studying for something? Or are you moving towards a different kind of job? Or what's your path?
Right now, translating is my full-time thing. I was doing it part-time last time. I was doing translating in my free time when I was working, but I left my old job. I wanted to try giving translating full-time a shot. So maybe about 6 months to 1 year. and then I'll see how it works out. If it's good, I'll continue. Otherwise, I'll just probably push it back to a sideline thing again. Push it back to the sidelines, and then and work a full-time job.
So how long have you been doing it now then, full time?
Full-time, a couple of months, 2 or 3 months.
Oh wow, so it's very new to you. What's been the hardest thing to cope with now that you're not like leaving to go to work every day?
Hardest thing, I guess, finding the motivation to do work.
Is it easy to just become a homebody and not leave the apartment?
Yeah, it's easy for me because I'm a bit of a mushroom. I like staying at home. So sitting in my room and just tapping away at the computer all day is easy as long as I can stay focused. Otherwise,
So one of
YouTube.
one of the things
YouTube is
that sorry.
Yeah, no problem. No, I'm done.
Oh, so one of the things that I found with doing a podcast about this kind of content and doing like YouTube content is that the more you have to do it, the more you don't want to do it. And I enjoy doing it, but it's still one of those things where it's like I used to read these novels as an escape, like a relaxation device, and now like suddenly sometimes it's like become work to a certain degree. I'm like, oh God, I have to like read these chapters, otherwise I can't do the show. So I've been trying to figure out other ways to cope with that. So now I have another way of relaxing. It's like, so when you were working your main job and then you were translating on the side, and now that you're translating full time, is it a lot harder to be excited about doing the work? Like, did you have to find something else to like relax outside of translating now, or is it still fun for you?
I think part of it is because of my novel itself. Not so much the story, but the way it's written. I think that there's a trend here for Chinese novels. Like the more interesting the story is, the more screwed up the writing is as well. Turning it into nice looking English is actually a bit of a challenge. And sometimes, yeah, I'm like you. It's really a bit of I really have to drag myself to translate. I've looked at some other people's novels and I'm like, oh wow, this is so much easier. I wish I was doing this instead. But yeah, in India, work is still work, and I gotta do it. But that's also another reason why I don't read as much Chinese novels now. I moved to Western novels. It's a bit of everything, to improve my own writing, because I was never much of a writer, and I didn't read as much books last time. Read as much novels last time, so it's to just improve my English, improve my writing, get away from Chinese, get away from my work, get away from my work. And also because I found that I really like the lit RPG genre, so I've just been reading tons and tons of that stuff.
Did you ever play any of the MMORPGs?
Oh yeah, I used to play a lot of them. I was never good at them, but I played a lot of them last time.
What was your addiction of choice? Mine was Final Fantasy 11.
No, I played Final Fantasy 14. Back in the day, I used to play Ragnarok online. Tons of other Korean Chinese stuff. Aura Kingdom and stuff. Yeah.
What I think is really
Black Death
funny,
Online.
I always think it's funny, like reading these novels, like Rainbow Turtle translates a lot of them, like Overgeared, for instance. Like I read it and I'm like, oh, okay, I know this person. I know the person who's written this novel has played Diablo 2 and even Legendary Moonlight Sculptor, for like straight up has references to Final Fantasy 11 all over it. And then like Show Me the Money, you can see some references to other games. Obviously, one of the shields, I think, in that Swordback hold is from Diablo 2. Like, I love seeing the references to all the MMOs that I've played. Is there any that you found in this MC as Kickass so far? Because I'm only 5 chapters in. I haven't had time to like read it yet, so I'm excited to see what you say about that.
I think DMK, you can consider it as more gateway novel into the lit RPG genre, because it actually places more focus on the real life and romance interactions between the characters later on. There's not much of it at the start, but it has around a 60-40 split between real life and game interactions.
Oh, wow.
And the game elements are actually quite light. So for people that haven't really been exposed to all of these lit RPG or game novels kind of stuff, this might be a good place for them to start, where they're not inundated with all of those gaming terms and stuff.
Yeah, and I found it's a little bit interesting because it's like a lot of these novels that I've seen lately are all either transmigration or reincarnation, and this seems like it's just a straight up like straight to the core, somebody playing a game but also living life. We haven't experienced. Within the 5 chapters, we're still in the game, so we haven't actually experienced her real life yet. But what can people who read the novel expect in terms of situations? Like, is it like the situation where she ends up in fights with gangs or something, or does she have to protect her family, or does she get really, really rich and then she's dealing with rich person problems? Like, what can we expect when we read further into the novel?
It's more of a slice of life. The real life elements are more of a slice of life kind of genre, coupled with romance. So in the early stages of the novel, it's just how she goes about living her life, her interactions with her brother. There's a lot of focus on her interactions with her brother, and also it being a Chinese novel, you can't forget about all those face slapping stuff.
Yeah.
So later on she, I think it might be a spoiler, so I better not say it. So she finds out that there are other girls that come along who try to steal the guy she likes, and then she shows off how much better she is. That's where the face slapping elements come in. Game wise, she's a bit of a Mary Sue. she's a bit of she's a bit of a Mary Sue. So, and even in the game world, there's still about I would say about 50% focus on her relationship with the guy she likes, because the guy she likes is she knows him in both the real world and in the game novel. She doesn't know that at first in the game world. She doesn't know he's the same person at first, but she later finds out.
Okay.
So yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
it's like it's simple, but because of the simplicity, they can focus more on the characters.
Yeah. There's a lot of focus on the main character itself. Main character, and then the rest of the attention goes to her brother and her love interest.
Okay. And then, so people obviously should go check it out at Valera Novels right now, and they should also give it a rating and review on Novel Updates, right? That helps you guys out. Like, why should people do? Why is it so important for fans to go to Novel Updates and review the novel? What does that do for you and the author, you as the author, or not the author, but the translator?
I think it's to give people, not so much for me as a translator. I mean, of course, if there's more reviews on the novels page, it'll show that there's that many people actually looking at it and paying attention to it. Even if it's a bad review, if there's lots of reviews on the page, it shows that there's interest in the novel. But more than that, it gives the readers an idea of what they're going into, so that they don't feel like they've wasted their time when they read the novel. And also, another aspect is that, again, this is for the readers. I find that good novels, those novels that are nicer to read, have a rating of at least 3.5 and above. So if you have a good rating, then people will be more inclined to click on the novel and read it.
Okay. So people should go do that after they check out the novel, or if they listen to the 5 chapters on the podcast and then dig it and then start reading it, they should go to Novel Updates and help you out. Let's see here. I want to move a little bit more towards something a little weird. I'm curious because you mentioned that you had done translation for Chidian in the past.
No, not translating for Chidian. I used to translate a Chidian novel on my own, because a lot of people just, when they first want to translate, they'll just pick a novel, and because Chidian's library is so huge, they inevitably end up picking a Chidian novel without knowing it. And then I would pick a Chidian novel, yeah.
Okay, so I totally misunderstood that. So let's move on to a different topic then. You said that you write in your free time, but you haven't done it very often lately, and you want to write a novel. What would you...
No. When I said writing, I meant like translating, because translating is actually a bit like writing as well. Because there are different styles of translating. There's transliteration, where you just translate the thing wholesale, or you can try to adapt it properly. You can try to change the sentence structure. so that it fits better in English and all that. That's what I mean. How to go about making it look better in English, how to present it better, make it look like it was a proper English work instead of something that was just translated from Chinese to English.
So
That's what
you're
emphasis on.
essentially doing that. You're rewriting the novel and adapting it so it's easily understandable in English. As I can tell, like by the fact that I can look at it and read 5 chapters right off the bat without having any grammatical errors, like that's pretty. You guys are obviously doing a really phenomenal job with it. If that's the case.
It's not so much rewriting as it is just making tweaks.
Got it.
So yeah. So like one thing that I really hate seeing in Chinese novels. I mean, everyone's free to do. Every translator has their own way of doing it. Everyone has, so they're free to translate it however they like. But personally, what I really hate seeing in translations is things like, this person directly said this, or he directly jumped into the air, or something like that. Directly, even though the word directly appears in the Chinese in the original raws, it doesn't translate well into English. It just doesn't make sense. It's a superfluous word. So I like to remove that. Like, of course, depending on the context, whether it's really necessary or not. And even if it was necessary, I would change it to a word that's more English friendly. Like, he directly said. In English, you could translate it as he went straight to the point and said, that kind of thing.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, it's just making it flow better instead of rewriting.
Yeah, it's making it flow better instead of rewriting. Otherwise, it might be things like restructuring the sentences. Maybe in Chinese they might say he said this, and then speech. Whereas in English it will be speech followed by he said. That kind of stuff. This is a very simple example. There's more extreme examples that I've done before, and I've probably had to sit there for like 10-15 minutes wondering how to go about best presenting it. But yeah, this is just to give you a rough idea. And also on that note, yes, while I do put in a lot of effort to make sure it sounds right, my editor works just as hard to make sure there's no mistakes. My editor, Purpledragon, works just as hard to make sure there's no mistakes in my translations. Nothing miss out anything.
Cumulatively, like between you and your editors and any of the assistants you need, how much time do you think it takes to have one chapter start to finish ready to go to be published?
I would say on average is about 4 to 5 hours all in.
Wow. So you're looking at, like, cumulatively you've produced on this MC is Kickass. It looks like the last release is 3/17, or is that just a bookmark? No, I think this is it's open.
Yep, that should be the latest one. I actually need to go and post later today, but that should be the latest one. I need to check. Well, give me a sec.
So that's 1,500 hours worth of chapters right off the bat, basically. That's pretty damn impressive. It says the final battle, so I'm assuming this novel might be close to the end at that point, or is that just the beginning? Like, how many chapters is this MC's Kickass total, or is it ongoing?
Some of the titles are a bit misleading. I would change it, but I don't want to go about distorting the what the author writes and stuff. So I just leave it there, even though I'm looking at it and scratching my head because some of the titles are the final battle, but it's more of just preparations for the final battle.
Oh, because it has the one next to it, which is usually what that means. How many chapters is this ongoing? Is it completed in the RAWs, or is this on?
It's completed in the RAWs. The translations are obviously ongoing, but it should be finished soon, a couple of months.
Okay, so do you know how many chapters are in total in the RAWs?
Yes, the RAWs have about 300 over, but in my case, I split some of the chapters. I split some of the chapters because I like to have a bit more time to work on the chapters, but at the same time, I don't want people to wait that long between for each release. So I split them up, and so it's a bit of a compromise. I get more time to work on the chapters, and people still get to read something.
Yeah, that's a good point. And then, so what do you have any idea what novel you're looking at to knock out next? Because if this is gonna be done in a few months, you're gonna start the new year with something fresh. Are you gonna stick with VR MMORPG novels, or are you thinking something new?
I'm thinking something new right now. I'm still looking around, but I'm keeping an open mind. Anything goes. Hopefully, I'd like to try and move on to a guy novel after working on a female novel. One of each. But right now, I've got nothing planned yet. I'm still trying to find something that's good. Something that I think would be a crowd pleaser.
And are you going to take your team with you? Like, will Teapot and Koo and Rozie be working with you on the next novel too, or does it kind of just depend on them?
Oh, actually, helpers really. Our helpers especially are more of an ad hoc thing, because they just help. They help whenever they have the time. So, and at least personally for my team, I don't place any pressure on them. So if they can do it, then good. If they can't, then I'll just continue working on my own. But most likely, as long as everyone is willing to, I'll port all of them over to the next novel.
Oh, cool. And then at what point in your life do you start writing your own novel? Will that happen?
I actually think I'm not that creative of a person, and writing your own novel requires a certain level of creativity. I think I'm at that point where I'm good enough to fix up what someone else has written, like make it sound a bit nicer in English. But I'm not good. I don't have the creative juices to go about writing my own originals. So maybe sometime in the future, in the far future. But for now, I'll just be sticking to translated novels.
All right. So last thing I'm going to ask of you here is, you know what an elevator pitch is? Does that make sense to you?
Elevator pitch? No, not really.
So an elevator pitch is like the equivalent of, like, you're stuck in an elevator with a Hollywood producer and you have a TV show that you want to pitch and you want them to give you money to make it. So you have like 3 sentences to grab their attention and make them want to build this idea with you. So that's what the concept of an elevator pitch is. So right now you have all of my viewer base and anyone who watches this, which is probably a total of 30 people. No, I'm downplaying. I don't know how many people watch. But basically anyone who hasn't checked out This MC is Kickass, in like 30 seconds, pitch it to them and tell them why they need to check this novel out.
I think I can probably do less than 30. If you're interested in, if you've never read a game novel before, or you're a girl, you like romance, but you've never read a game novel before, and you're interested in getting your feet wet, getting to know how the genre is like without being overburdened by all the game mechanics and stuff, I think this would be a good place for you to start. It's nice slice of life, nothing's too serious about it. The novel takes itself very light. It's all very lighthearted. But there's still romance, there's still romance to keep your interest there. And there's a bit of game stuff mixed in to keep things fresh, because, game novels aren't all that mainstream of a thing at the moment, at least in the Chinese market. So, or, if you're the type of person that likes to read lit RPG novels on the Western side of things, this is your chance to see how the Chinese go about doing it, the Chinese take on game novels work.
And that's it, right? That's it.
Okay.
I was like, I don't know. Is he giving it pause for dramatic effect? Well, thank you so much for coming on the show, man. It's been great talking to you and talking about This MC is Kickass, and I hope a lot of people review it, novel updates, and check it out, because I'm enjoying the first 5 chapters. I'll probably keep reading it from here, because like, I've been really digging these VR MMORPG novels, and especially I like the ones where you don't know what's going to happen next, because so many of them are, reincarnation, I know exactly what's happening next, which I dig, but I'm also like down for the surprise aspect of it,
Yeah. Thanks for having me on again. And also, I wasn't expecting the live reading, so thanks for that. It was nice having my novel read out.
Yeah, if you want me to, I can still do 6 through 10. I might still do it anyway, because I figure if I'm going to be reading, I might as well record it. Right? You're going to be doing something anyway. That's why I'm starting the Twitch channel for video gaming. That's why I have this channel. I'm like, you know what? I'm already reading these novels. I binged through like 4 complete novels when I first started this. I was like, oh my God, I'm spending so much time on this. I might as well be doing something with it, right? So, I mean, it's pretty fun. I love talking to all the translators. Like, it's really cool having you. It was really cool having the support of like Et Valere and Deathblade and all the people who are with Valere novels. Like, they're all really cool people. Like, shout out to Salutu, Gren, Tina Linja, Jay Juko Kun. Like, all these people are super cool. So it's really cool talking to you guys.
Yeah, actually, it's really great. It's really great talking to you as well because I've never been on a podcast, so this is a fun experience for me.
Cool. Well, thanks so much for coming on, and I'll send you the link and everything. You don't have any social media, so I can't tell people to follow you. But is there anything that people can hit you up on? I know Discord. I have you're just on Sigil on Discord.
You can hit me out on Discord. I'm quite active there. So if you want to just chat, hit me up the chat. Anyone just wants to chat with me on stuff, they can just ping me, and I'll be there.
All right. Well, thanks so much, and I'll talk to you soon.
Yeah. Thanks. Talk to you soon.
Well, that was cool, guys. That was really cool. I enjoy when the conversation can just flow, and I can always just jump on to the next question without thinking about it too much. Sometimes I get too caught up in my head having to think of like, oh, what do I want to ask? What do I want to figure out? And I think it was really cool to actually dive into team translations because, again, like, we haven't really covered that on the show before. So I think it was exciting. I learned a lot about how that works and how it's like, basically when they're available or when they can do stuff and how you plan out chapters and work as a team and how there's a novel lead as opposed to just like 3 translators thrown on a novel. Really cool that he got with Valere and then found a novel that's really cool that it seems like he really likes a lot. I think from the first 5 chapters, you have a basic understanding. The translation's really well done, which I think is pretty standard for Valere novels. It's standard for Wuxia World. They're my 2 favorite websites to read on. If anyone has novel recommendations to check out or translators to reach out to, you're definitely welcome to comment or to give me a shout out, like on Twitter or whatever, to have me check some stuff out. Or if there's another website I should be checking out that has these, because I know there's like, I don't know, is Gravity Tales still around? Are there other places where I could be reading? Let me know. Aside from that, I always want to shout out AfterBuzz TV. I've been working there for 6 years. It's been lots of exciting stuff happening lately. I just finished the Killjoys after show there. If you love Killjoys, check that out. Plus, I started the Gifted after show. So if you are a fan of the Gifted, the X-Men TV series, basically on Fox, check that out. It's called the AfterBuzz TV Gifted After Show. Starting episode 2 this next Tuesday, so you can always be a fan of that. And AfterBuzz covers so many TV shows, so you can always welcome to check it out. I've learned all my broadcasting stuff, hosting skills, interviewing skills, and everything from that. So if you want to support me, you can always support them. As always, go to iTunes. You can download this podcast on iTunes, leave me a rating and review. So you can do 2 things at once. You can literally hit that like button, go to Novel Updates, and rate This MC is Kickass and be like, oh my God, I heard about it on this show. And then you can go to iTunes and rate and comment, and then I will give you a shout out. I don't think I got any ratings in the last 3 days, so I won't be doing that now. But if there are any new ones by the next episode of this, I for sure will. As always, thank you to everyone who's been watching. Thank you to everyone who supports the show and shares it and retweets it and likes it on Twitter. You guys are the best, and I wouldn't be doing this without you guys because it is really fun to like communicate with people who are into the same stuff I am, because literally in my personal life, there's 0 people who read this stuff, which is really upsetting because they all should be. But that's it. Go ahead and follow me on Twitter at Stephen Lemieux. Follow the show at Immortal Index and subscribe on YouTube at Immortal Index Podcast. That's the show, and we will see you guys next time.